Have you ever found yourself disliking what every other person likes due to past experiences? This happened to Sophie. An incident occurred that makes her dislike Christmas and raise her guard up, but when she's forced to work with a man who loves the holiday, her walls start shaking. Will this man be able to change her perspective and lower her guard? In the opening scene of Meeting Mr. Christmas, Sophie writes a post to advertise her business, Sophie Solo Travels, and publishes it. Just then, she gets a call from Bailey. Bailey says that she liked her review of Bali's luxury resorts. She informs Sophie of the location for her annual Runaway from Christmas travel post. She says that she has set up reviews of the luxury resorts in the Maldives, adding that they are romantic locations for proposals, engagements, and others. Bailey tells Sophie that her job is to review how to travel alone to these romantic locations. Bailey informs her of the flight date and gives her a few instructions to get the job done. She adds that she doesn't know how Sophie does it, but she'd rather be at home during the holidays. Sophie smiles awkwardly before they end the call. Sophie receives a message from Izzy who asks if they're still meeting up, to which she replies with a thumbs up. In the next scene, Sophie talks with her sister, Maggie, on the phone. Sophie expresses her desire to see her sister's newborn, and Maggie says that it can happen sooner since she's at their mom's place. Their mother, Helen, had hurt her legs when hanging Christmas lights on the roof, and Sophie gets worried. Maggie asks her to help with the annual fundraiser and informs her that the fundraiser hasn't been bringing in enough money, but Sophie says that she has a huge assignment and is traveling on the 24th. Maggie says that she can still help till then and reminds Sophie of how important the fundraiser was to their father. Sophie gives in and tells her that she'll be there the next day, and they hang up. Their mom is excited that her two children will be home with her at Christmas, but Maggie tells her not to get her hopes high since Sophie is traveling on the 24th. In the next scene, Sophie tells Izzy that she'll be going home the next day, something she hasn't done in 4 years. Izzy tells her not to worry and that she'll be out of the house in no time, adding that it might be good to be home for a little bit, but Sophie says that there are bad memories at home around Christmas that are too painful for her to handle. She says that if she hadn't run away and written the post that she wrote 4 years ago, she wouldn't have the career that she has now. Izzy adds that she would not have met a certain someone who's now her best friend, referring to herself, but says that she still believes that staying at home for a bit will be good for her. Sophie reminds her that running away for Christmas is part of her brand and says that her career is very important to her. In the next scene, Sophie drives to her mom's house in Willowbrook. She arrives in the town and goes into a restaurant, the Macquarie, and is greeted by Sam, who's surprised to see her. She orders a box of her mom's favorite cookies and drops some money in the fundraising pot. A guy bumps into her on her way out, dropping her cookies in the process. He offers to get her another batch, but she tells him that they were the last batch for the day. She's annoyed but tells him that it's fine and walks out of the shop. Sophie gets home and is greeted by excited Helen, who's sitting on the couch. She hugs her mom and tells her that she had bought some cookies for her, but a doofus made her drop everything. Helen tries to calm her down, but she continues anyway. Sophie turns around and sees the man from the shop standing by her mom. Helen introduces the man as Dr. Finn Miller. Sophie comments that she didn't know that doctors still made house calls, and Finn tells her that her mom is a special case. Helen tells her that she'll be working with Finn to run the restaurant and organize the charity gala while her legs heal, but Sophie says that she can handle it on her own. Helen states that she's been organizing the charity gala with Finn for the past few years when Sophie was not around. She mentions their restaurant's close relationship with the hospital and her wish to keep it that way. Finn says that they can start the next day and offers to pick Sophie up by 8. Sophie tries to object with the excuse of not being an early riser, but agrees when she sees her mom's face. Finn thanks Helen and leaves. In the next scene, Sam wishes Finn good luck in working with Sophie. Finn doesn't understand why Sophie doesn't come home during Christmas to see her family, and Sam tells him that her fiancé called off the wedding on Christmas Eve and the wedding was supposed to be on that day. Finn is surprised to hear this, and Sam states that he doesn't think Sophie's a fan of Christmas again. Finn thinks that it's not an excuse, but Sam says that everyone handles losses differently, and that she took what was supposed to be a honeymoon vacation and made it into a career for herself. Finn doesn't understand how anyone can hate Christmas, and Sam says that Finn can turn a Christmas cynic into a Christmas lover. The next day, Finn shows up to pick up Sophie. She gets into his car and turns off the Christmas song that is playing. He gives her a cup of drink and she thanks him, thinking it was coffee, but he says that it's hot chocolate. Sophie states that it is too early for hot chocolate, but he says that he thought it will bring up their Christmas spirits. Their first stop is at the Christmas tree sales. Sophie states that they've not been pulling people from other towns like they used to and suggests that they make some changes. Finn tells her that he thinks that people like traditions, but Sophie argues by saying that no one wants to attend the same stuffy winter ball every year. She suggests that they organize a Christmas carnival. She insists that it'll help when Finn tries to disagree. He picks out a tree, but she says that it's too small and points to another one that she thinks is better. Finn sighs out of frustration. In the next scene, Finn puts up the tree and Sophie checks it off their list. She informs him that she'll contact rental places for the carnival games and says that he can do whatever he wants to do, but he states that he took some vacation time and is free. She tells him that she works better alone, but Finn reminds her that he's been organizing the gala with her family for the past 3 years and knows exactly what needs to be done. Finn feels offended and confesses that he doesn't want her to take out any of the traditions and thinks that there are some things that people will look forward to. Sophie argues that she's the one who grew up in the town, and Finn says that she also abandoned it, which she denies, saying that she moved on. She tells him to keep his Mr. Christmas vibes to himself and says that she would meet him in the car, leaving him speechless. At Helen's house, Maggie informs her mom and Sophie that she has successfully put the kids to bed, which was hard to do because they were excited about seeing Santa. This leads them to talk about when Maggie and Sophie were kids and how they wrote letters to Santa and baked a batch of cookies for Santa. They reminisce on how their father used to taste the cookies to make sure it was good enough for Santa and how he used to love Christmas. Helen asks Sophie to stop by Sam's Macquarie and get some gingerbread houses, saying that she wants to decorate them with her grandkids. Maggie thanks her for all the help and says that it's been great. Helen asks Sophie how her first day with Finn went, and she complains that he's opinionated about how the charity should be run. Helen mentions that Finn cares about the kids they're helping and that it's also his event as much as it is their event, but Sophie goes on to say that he is unadaptable, which Maggie thinks is ironic coming from her. Helen tells Sophie to go easy on Finn, and Maggie says that it'll be good to learn how to work with others instead of going solo, causing Sophie to give her the side eye. In the next scene, Finn is venting all his frustrations from his earlier experience with Sophie to Sam. Finn says that he doesn't want to ruin the relationship he's built with Helen and confesses that he wants to raise more money this year but doesn't want it to turn into social media-worthy stuff. Sam tells him to try getting through to Sophie and show her how great Christmas can be. Finn thinks it's a great idea. They are interrupted by Ms. Morrison, a school teacher, who wants to get some cookies for her students since the next day is the last day of school. Sam is taken by her and asks if she has any plans for the holiday. She tells him that she'll be marking her students' papers. She sees the Christmas Carol competition flyer and promises to be there, telling him to address her as Mary when he calls her Ms. Morrison. He gets excited when she leaves. In the next scene, Sophie informs Finn that the carnival games will be delivered to the restaurant and that she believes the next thing they have to do, which is the silent auction, is outdated. Sophie says that they need to shake things up and tells him that she plans on changing the food, which is surprising to Finn because it's her family's restaurant. She suggests that a French place she found online should do the catering. Finn doesn't like her idea, and Sophie states that she'll keep the Christmas tradition and also bring in money. Just then, she gets a call from Bailey. Bailey says that she has made the flight and hotel arrangements and complains when the connection gets scratchy. Sophie tells her that she had to visit home and says that she plans on starting her article by writing about her visit back home where everyone loves Christmas. She adds that she'll be focusing on Mr. Christmas, who's into traditions and loves Christmas, referring to Finn. Bailey loves it and tells Sophie that one of her articles had been picked by Avanti International Online, adding that it's going to increase her viewership. Sophie is happy by this news and promises to send Bailey the pages with Mr. Christmas before hanging up. Sophie goes back to Finn and comes up with a compromise. She says that she'll let him keep his silent auction if he lets her change the food. Finn asks if she wants to work together and she says that she does. They shake hands, sealing the deal. In the next scene, Sophie starts her post but gets stuck. Maggie brings a plate of cookies for her. She sees that Sophie is writing her article and asks how it's going, but Sophie says that it's not going well. She changes the topic and tells Maggie what she got her nephew and niece for Christmas. Maggie says that they like whatever she gets for them and adds that it'll be nice if she could hang around to see them open it. Maggie says that it's been nice having her at home and they joke with each other. At the Macquarie, Finn orders a plain croissant and Sam asks if he's picking Sophie up, to which he confirms that he is. Finn adds that they're going over the prizes for the silent auction, thanks him, and leaves. Just then, Mary walks in and says she wants to sign up as a contestant in the competition. Sam excitedly puts her name down on the list and is about to ask her out, but she interrupts him and says that her answer is yes to whatever he was going to say. He tells her that he'll look forward to it and she walks out. In the next scene, Sophie and Finn are at a sledding park to pick up a donation. The man offers them a sled and tells them to try it out. Sophie turns him down, but Finn accepts. Sophie looks around and sees a couple acting all lovey-dovey, making her feel sad at that moment. She calls Finn Mr. Christmas and he says that he likes the name. He calls her Ms. Scrooge, asking her to get on the sled, but she refuses. Finn asks why she hates Christmas and she tells him what happened, but he doesn't understand why she'd miss out on Christmas because of that. Sophie tells him that the holiday is tainted because it reminds her of the incident. He convinces her that it'll be faster if they went down with the sled and she agrees. They sled down the hill and she wants to leave, but Finn persuades her to go for another ride after lying that he left the car keys on top of the hill. In the next scene, Sophie tells Izzy all about her experience with Finn. Izzy thinks he's a potential love interest, but Sophie refutes it, adding that she now has to include him in her article. Izzy reminds her that Aveni is a big deal, which Sophie is fully aware of. She says that she doesn't know if she could handle his Christmas joy, but Izzy tells her that she should make the best of it since she has to work with him, adding that she could pour all the festive pessimism into her article. Sophie agrees with her and they hang up. She gets a message from Bailey who's asking for the pages on Mr. Christmas. Sophie checks up on her mom and asks if she can get her anything. Helen tells her that Maggie dropped some cheese tarts and they could share them. She gets the tart and shares it with her mom. Helen asks how things were going with Finn and informs Sophie that he's single. She asks when last Sophie dated, but Sophie says that it's part of her brand to be solo. Helen tells Sophie that it's okay to think of letting someone in. Sophie asks what her mom thought about their dad when they met, and Helen explains that she grew to love the things that drove her crazy when she first met him. Sophie tells her that she misses him and Helen also does. She tells her mom that Finn's picking her up early and gets a goodnight kiss. The next day, Finn comes to pick up Sophie, but she's running late. She apologizes to him and asks if they could stop by the Macquarie before heading for the restaurant, to which he agrees. At the Macquarie, Sam gives her a box of cookies. She says that she'd like to get gingerbread houses to decorate their drink table. She offers to decorate the gingerbread house, but Finn doesn't think that she can do it. Sophie takes it as a challenge and orders another gingerbread house. In the next scene, Finn and Sophie are at the restaurant and are ready for the challenge. She tells him that the winner will use their house as decoration and they'll eat the loser's house. They start decorating their separate gingerbread houses. Sophie explains the other Christmas traditions that other places have. He's fascinated by the different traditions and says that he needs more information. The challenge comes to an end and Sophie says that they both know the winner. Finn thinks he's the winner and commends Sophie for her efforts, but she tells him that he's not the winner. They start judging each other's gingerbread house decoration and Finn suggests that they take it to the hospital for the kids to vote. Sophie agrees but says that they should get back to work first. They decorate the restaurant and place the carnival games in the best spots. Later on, they hand out flyers to passers-by, inviting them to the charity gala. In the next scene, Sophie works on her article on Mr. Christmas. She receives a message from Bailey who's demanding the pages on Mr. Christmas, saying that Avanti needs to see them. She continues with her article and completes it before switching off the lamp. The next day, Sophie is at the restaurant, dancing to a Christmas song. Finn walks in and finds her dancing. He claps, notifying her of his presence, and she turns off the music. He jokes that his Christmas spirit must have rubbed off on her, but she says that she just likes that song. They get to work and arrange things around the restaurant. Sophie sees a box of tree decorations that her father used to use. She tells him that they made the ornaments with their dad and put it on the tree after making a wish. Finn believes that her dad must have been very special and she says that he was. Finn suggests that they add her dad's tree ornaments to the tree and she agrees with him. She proceeds to put an ornament on the tree, but Finn stops her, saying that she forgot to make a wish. They both make a wish and place the ornaments on the tree, then start a countdown to put on the Christmas lights on the tree. The tree lights up and is breathtakingly beautiful. They agree that they make a great team and Finn suggests that they attend the carol competition, but Sophie doesn't want to go. Just then, she gets a message from Bailey who compliments her work and tells her to get enough material before her flight the next day. Sophie changes her mind and decides to go with him. In the next scene, Sophie and Finn arrive at the Christmas carol competition. Sam hosts the competition and welcomes a contestant, Emma, on stage. She starts singing but gets shy. Finn starts singing the song with her and is joined by everyone else. Later on, Finn gets Sophie a hot chocolate. She tells him that what he did at the competition was nice. She asks why he moved to Willowbrook and he tells her that his parents passed away, so he moved when he got a job in the town. He says that he loves the little things about the town and that it feels like there's magic in the air. Finn adds that he thinks that there are more things for him to experience, and Sophie tells him that it's not too late. He asks her to join him for a Christmas tradition at the Macquarie and she agrees. In the next scene, Sophie and Finn get to the Macquarie, but Finn tells her to go in, saying that he'll meet her in a minute before leaving. She goes into the shop and sees some kids sitting at the tables. Sam says that he's glad she could make it and tells her that it's an event that was organized to bring the kids out of the hospital so that it'll feel like a normal Christmas to them when she asks. Just then, Finn comes in dressed as Santa Claus and plays with the children. Later on, after the event, Sophie thanks Finn for bringing her to the event and tells him that she had fun. She gets a call from the caterer and takes an excuse to answer it. After ending the call, Sophie tells him that the caterer canceled on them and won't be able to cater the event the next day. She freaks out and blames herself for messing it up by trying to change everything. Finn calms her down, assuring her that they'll figure it out together. Finn suggests that they reach out to their neighbors and ask if they could each make a different dish. Sophie adds that they could also go with the traditional turkey. They decide to knock on people's doors to see who can help. Sophie and Finn go to different houses and are accepted with warm hearts. They get the groceries and deliver them to every one of them. After their last delivery, Finn and Sophie rejoice at their success. He says that Christmas is all about coming together. He stops and realizes that he is indeed Mr. Christmas, and Sophie confirms that he is. Finn tells her that he's starving and asks if she'd like to eat with him. She says that she'd love to but mentions that it's late so everywhere is closed. He offers to make turkey sandwiches and potato chips for them at his house and she agrees. In the next scene, Sophie looks around Finn's house and sees pictures of him and some Christmas cards he received from the children at the hospital. She believes that the kids love him and he says that they're amazing, giving her a glass of wine. Finn tells her that they need to get new treatments for the kids and that's why this year's fundraiser is important. Sophie hopes that they can come through for the children and he agrees. They sit on his couch and she compliments his house decorations and his Christmas tree. He's surprised that she's saying something positive related to Christmas. She tells him that Christmas was her favorite holiday at the time and reminds him that she was going to get married on Christmas Eve. He asks what happened and she tells him that her ex-fiancé called the wedding off a few hours before she was supposed to walk down the aisle. After that, she picked herself up and went on their honeymoon vacation all by herself. Sophie opens up to Finn and tells him about her blog while he listens patiently, only asking questions when needed. He tells her that she's an interesting woman and that he thinks she's braver than him, but she disagrees, saying that he helps people every day. He suggests that they go outside for dessert, which Sophie didn't think was reasonable since it's cold outside, but she agrees anyway. Outside, Finn teaches her how to make snow candy, which was his family's tradition. He successfully makes 2 snow candies for them. The mood is set and they almost kiss but are interrupted by a call from Bailey. She leaves to answer the call. Sophie tries to tell Bailey that she doesn't want to run the article, but Bailey can't hear her because of the bad connection. Bailey, however, says that Evany loved the article and wants to run it on all their platforms. Bailey's excited but Sophie isn't. When the call ends, they say their goodbyes and she leaves for home. In the next scene, Helen welcomes Sophie and informs her that Maggie had visited the restaurant earlier and loved the decorations. She notices that something is on Sophie's mind and calls her over. She opens up to her mom and says that she made a big mistake and doesn't know what to do. Her mom reassures her that everything is fine and says that she loved having her over at the house. Sophie tells Helen that she missed her and they hug each other. The next day, Sam advises Finn to tell Sophie how he feels, but Finn says that he can't since she's leaving that day. Sam says that he's never seen Finn so fired up and Finn tells him that Sophie makes him feel like he could do anything, which is something he has not felt before. Sam tells him something his mom always said: you should hold on to what makes you feel most alive. Finn gets an idea and rushes off, almost forgetting his orders. In the next scene, Sophie tells Izzy that she feels awful and says that she promised to always write the truth, but doesn't think what she wrote was the truth. She confesses that she likes Finn when Izzy asks. Sophie says that everything feels wrong, including leaving and writing the article. Izzy asks if she's willing to give up Evany, to which Sophie replies that she doesn't know. At the restaurant, the neighbors bring the food they've prepared and Sophie thanks them. Finn walks in and greets her. They both confess that they had a hard time falling asleep. Finn says that he wants to talk to her about something that's on his mind. She's looking for her tablet and goes to the back. The tablet is on the table and Finn calls out to inform her but sees the article that Sophie had written on Mr. Christmas. She comes over and notices the look of disappointment on his face. He shows her the article that's titled Escaping Mr. Christmas. He expresses his disappointment and Sophie tries to explain but he leaves. In the next scene, Sophie finished packing her things, crying. She decides to write a post to right her wrong, explaining that she once had negativity towards Christmas, but wants to let it go now. She publishes the post and goes to meet Helen and Maggie in the living room. They tell her to get ready for her flight, but Sophie instead asks for their help. At the restaurant, the charity gala has begun and Finn goes around to greet the guests. Finn sees Helen and Maggie and compliments them. Helen commends the efforts Finn and Sophie put into getting things set for the night, saying that everyone's enjoying the games. Finn tells them that it was Sophie's idea. Maggie asks if he reads Sophie's article, but he says that he doesn't need to read the rest. However, Maggie insists that he should. He reads the article and can't help but smile. She informs him that there's a donation link at the end of the post where Sophie's followers can donate to the hospital. Finn wants to get to the airport to meet Sophie. He sees her at the gala. He takes an excuse from Helen and Maggie. The two women smile at each other. Sophie looks beautiful in her red dress and Finn can't find a word for how beautiful she looks. He says that he thought she'll be halfway around the world already, but she tells him that she called it off and also canceled the article from being published. She says that she'll stop running from people who care about her and that she wants to be here now. Finn confesses his feelings to her and tells her that he wants to see the world with her, and that he wants to be wherever she is. She gives him a condition that they always come home for Christmas and he agrees. They kiss slowly by the Christmas tree. Kindly subscribe and like for more videos. Thank you for watching.